The biggest scandal of our time. Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, my friends, President Trump on Truth Social went and said that the billions and billions of dollars that now have been clearly stolen thanks to Elon Musk's audit through Doge and that of his young warriors at Doge, that they have now found through USAID that we are talking about the greatest waste, fraud, and abuse ever, and where the money is now going is beyond obscene and it is beyond scandalous. So listen now to this, my friends. You want to know why the Democrats are melting down, why they're yelling, screaming, shouting, threatening Elon. There have been death threats now put on him. They are calling for him to be impeached, to be removed from his position as the head of Doge. Why they are becoming increasingly really irrational in their response is because they're now implicated in the mother of all scandals. Now, there is so much that has now been revealed in the last 48 hours. I know I touched on it on Wednesday's show, but there's a lot more even since Wednesday. So, let me give you, for example, here is one of the biggest breaking stories. Again, big hat tip to Elon, Doge. They were the ones that first broke it and exposed it. My friends, you, me, all of us, our taxpayer dollars have literally been subsidizing and paying for the liberal establishment media industrial complex. For example, federal government money, taxpayer money, over $8 million has gone to the anti-Trump, and really it's a rabid anti-Trump, anti-Republican news outlet, Politico. They found at least $8.2 million. A lot of it came from Health and Human Services or the National Science Foundation, but some of it did come right through USAID. Now, the question is, why are we paying for the subscriptions to Politico? Literally, my taxpayer dollars, your taxpayer dollars, are being deposited into the bank accounts of the rabid left-wing, anti-Trump, anti-conservative journalists at Politico. Over $8 million. But it gets even worse. Like an octopus with its tentacles everywhere. Now they have found the Associated Press. Now remember, the Associated Press, when you look at, say, Fox News or CNN or MSNBC, and you look at the Chiron, and you see all these stories underneath, that's all from the AP wire service. Many stories in newspapers are carrying AP stories. The Associated Press, known as the administration press, because they're in the tank for the Biden regime, for the Obamas, for the Clintons. Well, now we know why. At least $9 million under Biden flowed into the coffers of the Associated Press. Reuters news agency, maybe the biggest in the world. AP is very big in America. Reuters also, you can see a lot of Reuters stories, but across the world, probably the biggest. Over 8 million funded directly to Reuters news agency. And now the New York Times. According now to PJ Media, according to Fox News, according now to numerous other media outlets, $50 million of taxpayer money. Now again, this one is not through USAID. The others, a lot of it is USAID. This one was primarily through Health and Human Services and through the National Science Foundation. They were illegally funneling money from the Health and Human Services, from the National Science Foundation, right into the coffers, $50 million of the New York Times. By the way, the New York Times is owned by a Mexican billionaire. So why are they being subsidized to the tune of $50 million? And why did it come from Health and Human Services? I'll tell you why. This was all under Biden. $50 million just in 4 years. Why? Who pushed the myth of the COVID lockdown? That we needed to have lockdowns? The New York Times. Who kept promoting the vaccine mandate over and over again? The New York Times. Who became the biggest defender and promoter of Fauci? The New York Times. Who's been pushing the man-made climate change hoax and the Green New Deal relentlessly? The New York Times. Just follow the money. Just follow the money. Now, what this means in effect is not just that this is illegal. Forget immoral. This is blatantly illegal. We're supposed to have freedom of the press. What we now have, there's no other word. It's state-run media. If the regime is sending millions, and now it looks like tens and tens of millions, to its favorite media publications to act as mouthpieces for them, that is a state-run media. That's not journalism. That's propaganda, as the Russians would say. That's what that is. This is now state-run media. They have now lost all credibility. In fact, to be honest, they should all be shuttered and closed down. This is such a fundamental breach of journalistic ethics. These people have no shame. So my taxes are paying for the checks for New York Times reporters to come up with hit pieces on Donald Trump or to have lied about COVID and talked about the glories of closing down businesses and churches and schools. Like, think about this for a second. Or for Politico to do hit pieces on Trump or on any Republican. It is beyond obscene. It is beyond waste, fraud, and abuse. Now, what is also coming out is that these journalists were taking government money, and not only taking government money, but as I said, towing the Democratic Party line in exchange for the money. Listen now to President Trump. I want to read this to you. He went on Truth Social, and he said he didn't think it was this bad. He really didn't. That what Elon has now done, what he has now exposed, what he fears is the tip of the iceberg. But it is already maybe the biggest scandal in history. Quote, this is President Trump on Truth Social. Looks like billions of dollars have been stolen at USAID and other agencies. Much of it going to the fake news media as a quote-unquote payoff for creating good stories about the Democrats. The left-wing rag known as Politico seems to have received $8 million. Did the New York Times receive money? Who else did? Actually $50 million, but let that go. This could be the biggest scandal of them all, perhaps the biggest in history. The Democrats can't hide from this one. Too big, too dirty. Listen now to Caroline Levitt saying the media is in desperate spin mode. They're trying to see what they're doing now, just so that you know the game they're playing. They're saying, well, the $8 million wasn't from USAID. That's been quote unquote debunked. Well, that's not what Elon said. Elon said some of the money came from USAID. Much of the rest of the money came from other government agencies. But the point is, why is the government using taxpayer federal money to pay, fund, and subsidize liberal, establishment, pro-Democrat media outlets? Do we not have freedom of the press or not? Listen now to Caroline Levitt. Roll cut 24. Mike.
I was made aware of the funding from USAID to media outlets, including Politico, who I know has a seat in this room. And I can confirm that the more than 8 million taxpayer dollars that have gone to essentially subsidizing subscriptions to Politico on the American taxpayers' dime will no longer be happening. The Doge team is working on canceling those payments now. Again, this is a whole of government effort to ensure that we are going line by line when it comes to the federal government's books. And this president and his team are making decisions across the board on, do these receipts serve the interests of the American people? Is this a good use of the American taxpayers' money? If it is not, that funding will no longer be sent abroad, and American taxpayers will see significant savings because of that effort.
No, it's a horrible use. Frankly, it's an obscene use of taxpayer money. And to me, at this point, Politico should be kicked out of the press room. The New York Times should be kicked out of the press room. AP, Reuters should be kicked out of the press room. And here's my prediction. I want to know if the Washington Post got its cut. I want to know if the Boston Globe got its cut. I want to go after every single one of them. 620 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. More and more and more is coming out. I'm going to peel this like an onion throughout the entire show. It needs a whole show, trust me. And I want to take your calls, obviously. 617-266-6868. So, Trump now is saying this is the biggest scandal maybe in American history. So, it starts with USAID. It's like a cancer. It's in other government agencies. But it appears that the epicenter was USAID. Now, it is beyond the shadow of a doubt. USAID has been for many years a front for the CIA. It works in cahoots with the CIA. What Elon Musk and his people at Doge have now found is that USAID and other government agencies have been secretly funneling, as I mentioned in my opening monologue, tens and tens of millions of dollars to subsidize and fund, whether it be the New York Times, Politico, the Associated Press, Reuters news agency. This is really the heart and soul of the establishment media, the Democrat media complex. Now, I want to know, has NBC been taking a cut? CBS News, which again was just caught editing that interview that Kamala Harris did, where she was an absolute mess and gave word salad after word salad, couldn't answer a question properly, and they edited her to make her seem smart, coherent. They literally were carrying water for her campaign and engaged in a clear propaganda effort. Is CBS News on the take? As I said, NBC News, ABC News, David Muir, and the hit job that he did on Trump during the presidential debate. CNN. I know CNN's got their beak in this water. I know they've been watering their beak. I guarantee it. The Boston Globe, the Washington Post. Now, what Elon has discovered, you need to hear this, is that through USAID, our government has funded over 6,000 journalists. We have been paying for them, secretly subsidizing them, buying them off here in the United States and around the world. And not only have we been buying them off, but they deliberately echo the CIA line. So these media outlets that have been funded by USAID have been involved in regime change in other countries. Over 7,000 media outlets and organizations have been taking billions of dollars from USAID. Now you know why. Think about it. How many dozens and dozens and dozens of media outlets are there? Liberal elite outlets. They all say the same thing. They all parrot. It doesn't matter. NBC, CBS, ABC, Boston Globe, Washington Post, New York Times. I could go on and on. MSNBC. I could just go on and on. They all say the same thing. It doesn't matter. You want to go abroad? The BBC, The Guardian, the Times of London, Le Monde in France. Why are they all saying almost verbatim? Well, now we know. The CIA, through USAID, has now been issuing a propaganda narrative. Now, there's even, to show you how nefarious and frankly evil this is, they even found money, listen to this, tied to the CIA, in which money was given to the Reuters news agency under the term, listen to this, social deception, in which the goal was to manipulate the people of the United States and to sell them a narrative, to literally manipulate and deceive them. Social deception. And what was the social deception? That Trump was a Russian agent. That Trump is a wannabe dictator. That Trump is Hitler. Our own government is funding our own demise. Our own government is funding the media, which hates America, hates Trump, hates conservatives, hates MAGA. Holy mackerel. Now, furthermore, and that's what I mean, this thing is now almost, it's limitless now in its consequences. A lot of the money has been stolen. On top of all this, okay, what we're finding where the money's going, projects in Africa, it's all coming out. They didn't get a dime. In Latin America, they didn't get a dime. In Eastern Europe, they didn't get a dime. In the Middle East, they didn't get a dime. Where did the money go? And what Elon is saying, that's why Elon said USAID is a criminal organization. Engaged, his words, not mine, in money laundering, fraud, corruption, and kickbacks. Now, I'll bet you the best stake, and that's why the Democrats are going ballistic. Politicians here were taking their cut, or through their children. In fact, we already know, I got the big story on Chelsea Clinton, so we already know some of them have already been taking a big slice of that pie for themselves. George Soros, $260 million to the Soros Open Foundation. We have been funding George Soros. 632 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my friends, you know the iHeartRadio app. Please listen to the new iHeartRadio app with preset buttons. You can actually set the app to play the Kuhner Report automatically. So if you don't have it, I urge you to go get the iHeartRadio app right now. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. So very, very quickly, I want to do a quick reset. Lines are loaded. I'm going to go to the phone lines. We now know definitively, this is now beyond the shadow of a doubt, not just USAID. I want to stress this. Health and Human Services, the National Science Foundation, so it's other government agencies, have been secretly funneling money, funding and subsidizing. For example, Politico, 37 federal employees bought $500,000 worth of subscriptions to Politico. That was just 37. On our dime. We're paying for all this. It's not like, hey, they want to read Politico. You want to read Politico, I don't care. Spend $10,000 or $20,000 a subscription each. That's your business. But on our money, I don't think so. So, $8 million has gone to Politico. Some from USAID, much of it from other agencies. New York Times, $50 million. AP, 8-9 million. Reuters, 8-9 million. That's just what we know of. 6,000 journalists in over 7,000 organizations here and around the world have been taking government CIA-funded money. That's what USAID is. It is a front for the CIA. And I'm going to get to this later in the show. They directly were behind the first impeachment of Donald J. Trump. We now have the money. We have the paper trail. We have the receipts. Like I said, we're going to peel this like an onion. It gets worse and worse by the second. Our CIA wasn't just engaging in illegal regime change abroad. They then began to engage in regime change here at home against Trump. So don't tell me the deep state isn't real. The deep state is a monster. It's alive and well, using our money to destroy anyone in their path. Now, super quick, last point. I promise I want to go to the phone lines. George Soros, worth billions. How many years have we been talking about him, on and off? He funds the Democratic Party. He funds these non-governmental organizations, and that's where a lot of the money goes, by the way. These cutouts, these NGOs, that then does the CIA's or the USAID's, dirty work. So we thought, but it's Soros spending his own money. No, that cheapskate, that tightwad, like everyone else at the World Economic Forum, under Biden alone, $260 million, our money, taxpayer-funded money, went to Soros' Open Society Foundation. That's his key foundation. So when Soros was funding all of these pro-crime, pro-criminal district attorneys in Boston, in New York, in Chicago, in LA, and that's why crime is running rampant, he was doing it with our money. Literally, with our money. I never want to hear about freedom of the press again from a liberal. The establishment, so-called mainstream media, and I put that in air quotes, is state-run media. They're no better than Pravda or Izvestia in the old Soviet Union. Their journalists are bought and paid for. They take government money, Democrat money, to toe the Democrat CIA deep state line. The deep state has bought these media organizations and these media personalities and these media journalists like a $10 hooker, like a $10 streetwalker. Now you know why. War in Ukraine, they say the same thing. Open borders, they say the same thing. New World Order, they say the same thing. Globalism, they say the same thing. Climate change, they say the same thing. Now you know why. They're always parroting the regime line. Because like under the Soviet Union, they're hired, bought, and paid for by the regime. 617-266-6868. From this point forward, they're nothing more than state-run media. And I think this is the end for them. I think if Elon can get this out there, and Trump, and really expose how much money these media outlets have been taking, these pro-Democrat, anti-Trump, destroy Trump media outlets, their credibility, which is in tatters now, will be finished. Finished. So now you know why they never wanted Trump to come back to the White House. Because they have to cover up their crimes, which Elon and Trump are now unmasking and exposing every single day. Agree, disagree, what is your reaction? Should your money, should my money, should our money be going to pay for the New York Times, their journalists, their salaries, Politico, AP, Reuters, and other media outlets. Should we be paying for their checks? 617-266-6868 is the number. Lines are jammed. Vince in Deutschland, in Germany. You're going to kick us off, Vince. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Morning, Jeff. Hey, Jeff, my tinfoil hat has always gotten great reception. It has served me well. Did you see the video from Michael Schellenberger yesterday where he breaks down the whole first impeachment and how Michael Ciaramella, that rat lawyer that sat on the National Security Council who fabricated those documents?
Yeah. CIA, right, Vince? Ciaramella, CIA guy. Anyway, keep going. Yep, you're on fire, Vince.
That's correct. Him and H.R. McMaster, the three-star general, the guy who wrote the book, Dereliction of Duty, about McNamara in Vietnam, that guy were deeply involved in fomenting color revolution within this country to overthrow our government. That's high treason. That is high treason. And they've pulled in John Kerry and Samantha Power and Victoria Nuland, all of them. And it all leads up to Barack Obama, Jeff. It all leads up to Barack Obama. We have high treason. We have criminal traitors. And just for the cherry on top, okay, talking about USAID, all right, they had chopped $12 billion for homeless veterans. How much did the homeless veterans see? They saw nothing, not a one, not a dime, okay? So anytime you see some poor SOB on the corner with his plastic bag saying, I'm a veteran, you think about that. And, you know, these libs, they just dig in. They can't handle it. And you know the old saying, Jeff, bad news doesn't get better with time. Well, guess what? As time goes on, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. The lid has been opened up off of this sewer, and everybody's taking a nice big whiff.
Vince, honestly, drop the mic. Best audience in the business. 617-266-6868. Okay, there's so much news. Really, a lot of people are saying you just can't even keep up. You know what I mean? It's just, but anyway, so there's other developments. I'm going to get to it, and I'll get to this as well, I promise. But Michael Schellenberger, a liberal, but an honest journalist. Vince is completely right. On his Substack, he's done all the investigations, all the reporting, shows that there was a nexus, collusion, between USAID and the CIA through this guy, Eric Ciaramella, CIA analyst, to engage in regime change against Trump and to overthrow him using that first impeachment. So we now know who was ultimately driving the Democrats to impeach Trump. It was the CIA in collusion with USAID. And in a way, my friends, let's stand back objectively, okay? We knew for decades that our CIA was overthrowing governments around the world, interfering in other countries' internal political affairs, regime change, color-coded revolutions. How could we have been so naive to think when you unleash a monster like this, create a Frankenstein's monster like this, that eventually they wouldn't turn on us? And that's exactly now what's happened. 649 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. You can also text us 70470. 70470. This is from 603. Jeff, the Democrat politicians, I don't know if you've seen them, but seriously, they losing their minds is not the right word. They're barging into Mike Johnson's office. They're threatening Mike Johnson. They're threatening Elon Musk's life. They're yelling and screaming at committee meetings. They want to subpoena Elon. They want to impeach Elon. They want to imprison Elon. Did you see Warren last night on the Senate floor? Hysterical, shouting, screaming. Anyway, I just want to, Jeff, the Democrat politicians going on social media and the so-called mainstream media who are screaming the loudest about all of this knew full well about it and are almost certainly benefiting from it. Oh, we know they are. I got that story for you. But anyway, they're actually outing themselves for all to see. Isn't that right, Liz Warren? Pocahontas? Chief Spreading Bull? When everything is said and done, you're going to realize now why politicians who are supposed to be making about $200,000 a year and within a couple of years, whether it's Congress or the Senate, are worth 20, 25, 40, 50, $100 million. And how their children, that's the real grift, how their children are put on all these boards that receive all of this money and they make out like bandits. Now it's all starting to make sense. 617-266-6868. And by the way, we the taxpayers, blank you. And honestly, you know me, I'm not a fan of foreign aid. But, really, the hungry children in Africa, blank you. The hungry children in Latin America, blank you. They're stealing from the mouths of hungry children. Like, that's how obscene and sick these people are. Dan in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Dan, and welcome.
Thanks for taking the call, Jeff.
My pleasure, Dan.
Listening to the situation, we've always felt that the scales have been tilted. But I've got to tell you, my mind, I wish I could honestly say my mind has been blown. But I have to say, I conceive that this thing has been going on for a long time. Let's face it, we're in an ocean of political corruption. Our politicians, our FBI, CIA, media, all corrupt, all getting paid off. Meanwhile, we've got $37 trillion in the hole, and nobody seems to care about our debt. We want compensation. I want these people put to task. I want them to be sued. I want everybody to lose their jobs who's involved with this. This mess has been going on for way beyond what we even probably realized. And I'm telling you right now, Jeff, thank God for Donald Trump, because he's opening the eyes of the country, not only us conservatives, but the liberals are scratching their head and saying, have we been lied to? You better believe you've been lied to. We've all been lied to. We've all been stolen from. We've all been socially engineered. I feel like I'm a lab rat. Everybody else should too. We've just been taken advantage of, just like we're a science project, one of their science projects. I can tell you right now, Jeff, if we would have lost this country, if this bullcrap had continued, thank God again for Donald Trump and people like you, because I'm telling you, this is so far gone that thank God for Elon Musk also, because let's face it, this country was ready to go under, and it's these people who have basically grabbed the bull by the horns and brought us back. And I want to see people like these politicians, Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer and all of these other idiots that are acting crazy. I want them to be looked into. I want everything exposed. I want the books to come clean. This is, as you've said, a tip of the iceberg. And I'm telling you right now, Jeff, if this is not solved, which I believe it is going to be solved, this country can finally get back on its feet. We can actually be free, and everybody can unify, because they've done nothing but divide this country with their lies, their treachery, and their deceit. It's treasonous, and these people should be taken into treason, and they should be charged. And everyone, this should be so totally exposed that everyone can realize just how far a government out of control can go.
Dan, I got to tell you, if you and Vince are, laying down the markers, today the callers are this could be the best show we've ever had. Again, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Dan, thank you very, very much for that call. Really, outstanding call. Look, I think heads need to roll. I agree with Dan. I think people need to be arrested. People need to go to jail. I think the media now needs to be publicly shamed. Really shamed. They are state-run media. They have no moral authority whatsoever. Whatsoever. When a liberal friend of yours says, look what the New York Times is saying about Trump, state-run media, next. Look what Politico just said, state-run media, next. Well, this is the Associated Press, state-run media, next. The journalists are all on the take. They're all taking money, government money, our money, taxpayer-funded money. And look, let me just say this. There's a silver lining in all this. And I really mean this from the bottom of my heart. I felt it the night we won the election, okay? I said it throughout the campaign. I meant it. I meant every word. This was like 1860. This was like 1932. This was like 1980. Like 1980. There are certain elections. It's a crossroads. 2024 was either the American Republic would survive or come back, be restored, or be permanently destroyed, buried, gone. This audience, and that's why I have such pride and respect for all of you, okay? I really mean this. You were pivotal. The American people, we were pivotal. We say we put the country on our back. Yes, Trump was magnificent. Yes, Elon was great. I'm not denying, please, of course. But we put this country on our back. And they're doing exactly what they promised to do, which is they were going to expose all the rot and the corruption. And the silver lining is, now we know everything and we can clean it up. Here, Trump just signed an executive order last night. Listen to this. No more government contracts to a single media outlet, period. Period. So the days of these media outlets getting tens and tens of millions of dollars, okay, the state-run media, it's over. He just signed an executive order. Bang. Elon came out and said, you're going to see now the quote-unquote revenue for all of these so-called mainstream legacy media outlets. Oh, it's going to drop like a stone now because there's no more government money flowing into their coffers. So we're going to financially now starve them. And this is just the beginning. Elon's saying, look, I'm telling you, my people are looking at this. USAID is a drop in the bucket. And everyone's like, you're kidding. He goes, no, the real fraud is in Medicare and Medicaid. You're not going to believe checks to dead people, double checks, triple checks. He goes, you are not going to believe checks to illegals that shouldn't be getting these checks. He goes, you are not going to believe the fraud, the abuse of taxpayer dollars. Holy shamoly. That's where the big money is. So it's, it's upsetting, of course. It's, to me, I didn't think it was this bad. I may be naive again, but look, I'm a Reagan baby. Okay. I just want, to be, I'm a Reagan baby. We were Cold Warriors in our home. We fought the Cold War in our home. We loved Ronald Reagan. When he called the Soviet Union the evil empire, me and my dad were high-fiving each other, okay? In the living room. We loved that old man. I loved that old man, okay? When I would visit my family in what is now Croatia, then communist Yugoslavia, but this is now Croatia, post-communism, but, much of Eastern Europe, a lot of the journalists there are on the take. The corruption in Eastern Europe, the kleptocracy, it's bad. It's not just Ukraine and Russia. All these former Soviet bloc countries, it's bad. My relatives would tell me, well, yeah, this journalist is on the take. I go, really? Yeah. Nah, this newspaper, they're collecting millions from the government. They're state-run media, former communists, same thing. I used to be so proud. Oh, this doesn't happen in the United States. No, this doesn't happen in Canada. that we have these rich traditions of freedom of speech and freedom of the press, that there are just some things you don't do as a journalist. You don't take government money, for God's sake. I'm sorry, you're not a whore. You're not a journalist prostitute. Okay? That's a prostitute, as a lot of people call them. Well, guess what? That's what I said to Grace last night. I said, you know what Elon is really revealing? These are my words, not his. We've become like an Eastern Europe, a corrupt Eastern European kleptocracy, where the oligarchs have bought the media, and they have state-run media. That's it. We're not better than them. And now it's plunder. They're not just stealing now, it's plunder. It's plunder. It's disgusting. It's obscene. And it's the greed. It's the greed. On many of these projects, okay, here, Elon is exposing it. In Haiti, projects, we're talking about orphan children, for God's sake, okay? Again, I'm not foreign aid. But if we're going to have foreign aid, for God's sake, send it to the kids. Okay, fine. If I'm feeding starving children, I know we should take care of our own first, of course. Okay? Don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying, if we're going to be sending that kind of money, okay, take care of the starving children, for God's sake. By the grace of God, there go I. If I was born in Haiti, I could be one of those kids. I get it. Less than 10%. Less than 10% actually went to food and water going into the mouths of hungry, starving, orphaned Haitian children. Over 90% they stole. God damn it. They stole. You're a greedy bastard. I'm sorry, you're a greedy bastard. You're a greedy bastard. It's not even fair. If it was 50-50, okay. At least like something for the kids. But no. In some areas, zero. In Africa, zero. Nothing. Do you understand? Nothing. Not a speck of rice. Now, very quick. A lot to talk about, very quick. Let me give you one more story, okay? Quickly, and then you got to hear this. You know who got a ton of money? We're talking now at least hundreds of millions, probably billions, minimum hundreds of millions that they found. Remember, this is just the beginning. They're just starting to open up the books. The Clinton Foundation. Bill, Bubba, Hillary, Chelsea. You want to see how greedy they are? Money that was sent to the Clinton Foundation to help starving children in Haiti and in other third world countries. Chelsea Clinton took $84 million. $84 million. And she took it home. We gave Chelsea Clinton, you, me, taxpayer money that was intended for aid for literally starving, hungry children. She took that money and she put it in her bank account and she took it home. And the Clintons are worth north of $500 million. They're worth north of, 500 million? Easy? That's why Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, I want to credit him, called Hillary Clinton out and said, don't you dare attack me and what we're doing to try to modernize now the airport systems and the air traffic control systems. You're just trying to lash out because you've been caught with your obscene grifting. My friends, this is obscene. They stole $84 million. And Chelsea Clinton, they need to go to jail. Okay? They need to be locked up. This is plunder. This is thievery. This is highway robbery. And no, it's the greed. Now, to show you how USAID is a racket, okay? Marco Rubio said we did a quick analysis. 14,000 employees at USAID. 14,000, okay? 14,000. That's a lot. You know how much good we can do with 14,000 employees if they actually gave a damn about people in the world? Do you know how many actually do their jobs? That are actually considered like essential functioning personnel? Like, yeah, we want to keep them. 294. Less than 300. 294. That's how much waste, fraud, and abuse. It's not 50-50. It's not even 80-20. It's not even 90-10, for God's sake. That's how much they've been robbing us blind. So, over 13,700 USAID personnel are not going to be fired. They're only going to keep 294. And you watch. USAID is never going to work better. Efficient, productive, honest, integrity, all coming back and saving us a ton of taxpayer cash. Keep going, Elon. Don't stop, my friend. But I got to tell you, the Clintons, after this, don't ever talk to me about Hillary, Bill, and Chelsea Clinton. Honest to God, you know the Irish bank robbers of the 1930s? The old mafia families, I swear to God, had more honor than these gangsters. Say what you want. I don't take your gang. Al Capone did not steal from starving children. I'm telling you. I'm just stating a fact. Old mafia families did not steal 84 million from starving children. They just didn't do that. They had more honor than these people. 617-266-6868. Heather in Rockland. Thanks for holding, Heather, and welcome.
Hi, Jeffrey. Thank you for taking my call. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure, Heather.
I have a couple of statements and a question. First of all, before I put two and two together, I was questioned why are they pushing off Kash Patel? I was so annoyed yesterday, and maybe they came to a resolution, to bring the vote. I don't know, but yesterday I was watching something that they were going to pause the vote because they wanted to do more questioning or something yesterday with Kash Patel, and I thought that was quite interesting. That's a statement. And then the other statement I have to make, and I said to my friends, I said it's very interesting how they came up, how Elon Musk, I'm like really proud that he came out with this like all in 2.5 months. Like I mean that's a lot to come up with. And I mean, the jobs that he's been doing is like blows my mind. And then my other question is, and I thought of this the other day when you were talking, can Trump ban Soros from the U.S. from even doing business or even being associated with the U.S.? Can he do that?
Well, Soros has American citizenship, so that's going to be very hard. But what he's got to do now is prosecute Soros. And he's got more than enough now to prosecute him. And I'm sorry, the Clintons have to be prosecuted. They have to. Like, this can't go on anymore. Look, I can't tell you, oligarchs in Eastern Europe are arrested and prosecuted all the time. Politicians, prime ministers, finance ministers, Ukraine, they just, they had half their cabinet was just sent off to prison. There was a big purge. Many of them now on corruption and bribery. I mean, they were stealing tens of billions of dollars. And Zelensky had no choice but to start issuing arrests because Trump is saying we're cutting off the spigot. So what I'm just saying is if the Eastern Europeans have to put their corrupt politicians in jail, which I agree with, then we've got to do the same. And look, honestly, Heather, I know this is going to strike people as very strange that I say this. Look, you steal $1, I think it's a sin, okay? But we're not talking about $1 million here and $1 million there, and you say to yourself, you know, is it really worth the political turmoil that it's going to cause, and the, you know, the animosity and the polarization, and, you know, okay, you know, it's not the end of the world, okay? When you start talking, this is just what we found out now. $84 million that the daughter, money that was sent, got our money, your money, that was my money, our money, to the Clinton Foundation to help starving children in Haiti, orphaned. I'm telling you, orphaned. They lost their parents in an earthquake. They're hungry. No, their bellies are swollen. That's why I'm getting so upset about this. You got swollen bellies on these children. 4, 5, 6 years old, crying. And you take 84 million just for yourself and take it home? You're greedy. You're a greedy bastard. I'm sorry, you're greedy. She's got to pay. That's theft. That's what theft, that's plunder. So he's got to, look, you got to expose before you can, you know, prosecute. I understand that. And he wants to show more and more and more. He wants to build as much public outrage and as much public consensus as possible before he goes after them. That's why he's letting Elon expose all of it. But I think in the end, Heather, he's going to have to go after, he's going to go after the Obamas, the Bidens, the Clintons, and George Soros. He's going to have no choice. 719 on the break, WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, Trump now believes this could be the biggest scandal in American history. The billions that have disappeared, stolen, and now what we're finding out where a lot of the money is gone as well through USAID, and other agencies in the government that now Doge and Elon and his people are now exposing, unmasking, and revealing through their audit. The audience, Kuhner Country, I'm telling you, is rising to the occasion. Listen from Marianne. Again, hitting the nail right on the head. This is what she sent me on Messenger. Good morning, Jeff. Well, good morning to you, Marianne. So, all of this is being exposed, which is a wonderful thing. But without making examples of these thieves, it will never deter more from happening. Not just by them, but others. Is Trump, in your opinion, going to make examples of them by trials and sending some to prison? Because without that, none of this means anything. If we don't make examples out of these people, then others don't care because they know they can get away with it. I seriously like your opinion as to whether or not you believe is going to follow through. Prison. Now, this is Marianne, since you asked, this is my answer. And I know Trump's people are listening. So I'm speaking to them as much as I'm speaking to all of you. He's going to have to send them to prison. Maybe not all. I don't know if you can get them all, okay? But some of the big fish, he's going to have to send to prison. Because if he doesn't, then I'm telling you, it's all been a waste of time and a waste of energy. Now, this is my theory, and I'm like 99.999999% sure this is what's going on. The Democrats have delayed the confirmation vote on Kash Patel to be the next FBI director. And there's no good reason why it should be delayed. And I believe the reason why they're delaying the vote on Kash Patel is they know, in fact, they're petrified of Kash Patel because they know once he becomes FBI director, Kash Patel goes for the throat. Kash is not bought and paid for. Kash is a patriot. And like me, he has a very strong sense of justice and outrage when he sees abuses of power. Like me, I'm telling you, look, I've been following Kash for a long time. Like me, he starts to see red. And maybe it has to do with a similar background, I don't know, where you come from a family background where there was abuses of power inflicted upon your parents and your grandparents. And so when you see it happen here, you're like, no, I'm not going to accept it here. But whatever, I don't want to psychoanalyze the guy. My point is just the Democrats are petrified. Cash will go after them and prosecute them. And that's why they're desperately delaying the vote on Kash Patel. And you say, well, Jeff, what do they plan to get out of this delay? Find someone, anyone. He raped me. You watch. A sexual assault. He said something. It was like rape. He said it to me in the elevator. It was just him and me. It was the way he looked at me. It's what he said to me. Come on. We got to fish. We got to find something. Someone's got to come up with an unproven accusation. Find somebody mentally ill. Come on. Let's go. We got to find something. Come on. We got to derail this thing. That's what they're desperately trying to do. I don't think it's going to work. We all know the game, but that's what the Democrats are now doing. Okay. Very, very quickly. Larry on Messenger. Again, brilliant. Jeff, think back to the 2016 election. I remember this very clearly. There was a group of Haitian migrants. Yeah, Larry, to be fair, I think they were Haitian American citizens. I think they had come in legally to the United States, but whatever, I don't want to quibble. There was a group of Haitian migrants wanting to expose the Clinton mafia and what they had done in Haiti, how they basically raped Haiti. And the press silenced them. Bought and paid for. Bingo. One more. And it's a beauty. Absolute beauty. From Eric. Jeff. They were above the law. They were above the law. They were above the law. Extorting, embezzlement, lies, cheating. Thank God Trump is in the White House. I want to see all of them hang, just like the ones who killed Lincoln. Because this is the greatest crime ever against the American people, and I believe it is the equivalent of the Lincoln assassination. Look, it's clearly sedition. It's clearly treason. It's clearly high crimes and misdemeanors. It's embezzlement. It's corruption. It's bribery. It's you can go on and on. It's money laundering. And they bought the media with our money? It's just incredible. This is incredible. So, look, I'm going to set it up. I promise, it's a little bit late in this segment to take calls. I promise I'll take calls on the other end. So let me just do a super quick reset. USAID now in the midst of maybe the mother of all scandals. Trump now has said billions are gone. They don't know where the money is. They're going to try to find it, but they suspect it's been stolen. We now know USAID has been subsidizing funding 6,000 journalists, over 700 organizations, USAID and other government agencies. $50 million to the New York Times. Our money, your money, our taxpayer-funded money. By the way, this is supposed to be foreign aid or health and human services. Or in other words, what does this have to do with health to give $50 million to the New York Times? $8 million to Politico, $9 million to the Associated Press, $8 to $9 million to Reuters. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. 732 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, 617-266-6868. Okay, my friends, listen to the new iHeartRadio app with preset buttons. You can set the app to play the Kuhner Report automatically. All right, lines are loaded. What do you make now? It's clearly, it's irrefutable. We have state-run media. And you and I are paying for it. What do you feel about that? And when Trump says this could be the biggest scandal in American history, do you agree with President Trump? Dave in Indiana. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff. You are my number one preset on my iHapp.
Thank you. Thank you.
iHeartRadio app. I'm a little under the weather. I feel like 3 pounds of Adam Schiff in a 1 pound bag, so you'll have to excuse my voice.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, Dave. So I feel your pain, Dave. Believe me.
So some quick points here. Once they figure out who got what, the amounts, I think they should publicly produce it with public consumption, who got what and what the total amounts were. But they need to do a full audit, not only of where the money went, but the people that received that cash, what did they do with it? I'm sure there's some congressional and senatorial kickbacks in the mix because they wouldn't be screaming as loud, and that's why they're holding up Cash Patel. As far as the Clinton Foundation, there's a good book out there called Clinton Cash that outlines the whole thing on how they make their money, and the Haiti relief after that hurricane and all the buildings, temporary housing buildings, are just completely rotted. I think in Mississippi and Louisiana, they never made it over there. I mean, millions of dollars of relief aid that never made it over there. As far as George Soros, I think he should be declared a domestic terrorist. His assets frozen. I think the Clinton Foundation's assets should be frozen. And it needs to be accountability, prosecution and accountability. My mother says Democrats never get away with everything. They never get held accountable. And I think we know why. Now we know why. You want to find out where the corruption is. What do they always say, Jeff, about a crime? Follow the money. Finally, Trump is following the money. And that's why these Democrats are so loud in their protests. And that's all I got to say about that. Very frustrating.
Dave, well, look, please don't be frustrated because it's all being exposed and it's all going to get cleaned up. And look, with Pam Bondi as AG and we get cash in, and I believe we're going to get him in, I don't think it's going to work. I don't think their dirty tricks are going to work. People are going to go to jail. You're right, Dave. That's why they're panicking. That's why they're petrified. They're shaking. Some of them are literally shaking. They know they never thought it would come to this. So, maybe, they say God writes straight with crooked lines. Maybe it took Trump to have the election stolen from him in 2020. Maybe it took all of that to get to this point where everything gets exposed. That there's a larger plan here at work, something, providential. But Dave, let me ask you this. Are you shocked? No, really, look, I guess I always thought journalists were hacks for, say, Biden or Harris or Obama or the Democrats for ideological reasons. They go, same cocktail set. They go to the same elite universities. They hang out with the same crowd. It's like a club. And it's a liberal Democrat elitist club. But I never thought that, my God, they were cashing in checks. Tens and tens of millions of dollars of checks. Are you shocked how much money has gone into these massive legacy media outlets?
Surprised. If you think that's big, I heard Elon saying, wait till you see what we find at the IRS. When they audit the IRS, I think our minds are really going to be blown.
Oh, I agree. And he also says Medicare and Medicaid.
That I heard, yes.
Yeah. He goes, you're not going to believe what you're going to find. He goes, get ready. Get ready. Now they're talking $3 trillion in savings. Remember, our budget deficit is about, give or take, okay, 1.8 trillion to 2 trillion. Okay, it depends on which year. Forget 2 trillion. Elon said, I can save you 2 trillion, which means no budget deficit. None. It's gone. He's saying now, if you really want to cut some serious fat, we could save 3 trillion. In other words, we'll have $1 trillion surplus. I mean, Dave, they were robbing us freaking blind. Dave, thank you very much for that call. Let me just play this very quick cut. Caroline Levitt giving more examples. Okay, this is what our money was going to under Biden. Listen to this. USAID. Roll cut 25, Mike.
I would just say that you brought to mind California and North Carolina, who continue to be on our hearts, and the president and this administration are committed to ensuring that these individuals get the funding that they need. And I would just say a strong message to Democrats who are out there pretending to be outraged about the long list of crap that this administration is cutting, federal waste and funding, like $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala, $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt, $20 million on a new Sesame Street show in Iraq, $4.5 million to combat disinformation in Kazakhstan. I could go on, and I'm happy to provide this list to every single one of you. Democrats are outraged that the American people want to be, they want their taxpayers going to good uses, not stuff like this. But then they're very quiet about the fact that there are still North Carolinians and people in California who have lost everything, and in the last 4 years, this federal government did nothing to help them.
Bingo! Caroline Levitt is killing it, but she's completely right. $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala, 2.5 million EV mandates in Vietnam, 1.5 million for diversity, equity, inclusion in Serbia, Serbian workplaces, and in the Serbian government. DEI in Serbia. 6 million to promote tourism in Egypt. Really, 20 million for Sesame Street in Iraq. And by the way, that 4.5 million disinformation in Kazakhstan to combat disinformation, that means peddle the CIA line. That's what our money is going to. So if it's not being stolen, my God, look at what they're pushing and peddling around the world. 617-266-6868 is the number. Hank in Washington. Thanks for holding, Hank, and welcome.
Man, Jeff, does this really put in perspective what Hillary Clinton said meant when she said, if this MFer wins, we're all going to hang? But to follow up with the text message that you got, I think Trump realizes one of his biggest mistakes was not putting Hillary in jail the first time, and yes. I don't think he's going to make that mistake again. But secondly, not only is this state-run media, but how much of that money was used to buy up conservative radio stations? Because George Soros just started buying everything up and shutting them down.
Well, that's a great point. And Hank, I don't know if you know this, but just to add to what you're saying about Soros, some of his radio stations now, obviously he got rid of all the conservatives, so he purged them all. Now, in some of these places like Chicago, we're warning illegals about ICE raids coming. So they're literally giving illegals a heads up when an ICE raid is about to be conducted. So Soros is funding radio stations, literally disrupting and trying to prevent or block an ICE raid. How many crimes does this guy have to commit before finally somebody says, you know what, we're going to put his ass in jail?
Man, I'm not sure where...
Hank, I can just tell you this, all right? Take this to the bank. Soros has been after me now for a very long time. I wrote a piece over 20 years ago where I really exposed him. And he's a bitter SOB. He's a vengeful SOB. And so I've always been worried that someone like him would spend his fortune, say, buying up, I'm just going to, iHeart or whatever, just to fire me, just to silence my voice. Now I realize I was worrying for nothing because he's such a cheapskate. He's such a tightwad. This guy only spends our money. He never spends his own money. That's the most incredible thing. $260 million we gave to Soros's Open Society Foundation. So everything that he does is with our money. Final word to you, Hank. Oh, we lost. Okay. Hank, thank you very much for that call. I really, really appreciate it. Okay, my friends. Huge bombshell. So it's another one. Trust me, they keep coming one after another. We're peeling this back like an onion. More next. 7:49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266 888-6868 is the number. Okay, a couple lines are open if you want to jump on. So, as we start to find out bombshell revelation after bombshell revelation of this massive misuse, waste, fraud, abuse, in fact, crimes that have been committed now over multiple years because of Elon and Doge, guess what? A federal judge, a moonbat judge yesterday, has now blocked Doge from obtaining access to quote-unquote sensitive Treasury Department payment records for a period of time. So now they're trying to prevent Elon from finding out more information. Listen to this. Judge Colleen Kolar-Kotelly, okay, a Clinton judge. Whoa, what a coincidence, huh? A Clintonista, claimed in her order, listen to this, by the way, this suit was filed by the federal government unions, the federal government employee unions. So they're claiming now that Doge is violating privacy rights by having access to the payment records and payment system of records at the Treasury Department. And so, according to her, it's what she wrote in her order. It's an unbelievable order. Unbelievable. That Treasury officials, under her order now, will not provide access to any payment record or payment system of records maintained within the Treasury Bureau of Fiscal Service. So, what they're now claiming is that the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, improperly allowed Elon Musk's team to access these payment records. In other words, follow the money. They're conducting an audit. Because this apparently exposed personal financial information to unauthorized people. Now, let me tell you what's really going on here. Okay, it's so obvious. Elon Musk and the Department of Justice came up with an arrangement. They said, we don't want anyone's personal information, their tax ID number, social security number, personal financial information to be leaked to anyone. So only 2 employees at Doge, and their names are specified, only 2 will have access to these records, and it will be read-only. That's it. You can just read it. You can't move it. You can't forward it. You can't copy and paste it. You can't do anything with the information. All you can do is read only, and it's only 2 employees. Now, Jeff. Well, why does Elon and Doge need access to these Treasury Department records, financial records, payment records, financial system payment records? To follow the money. That's how they're finding out all of this information. Follow the money. Now, I want you to just stand back objectively. What this judge is trying to tell us with a straight face is that the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, the top executive officer of the executive branch of the federal government, doesn't have the authority to appoint, say, Elon and Doge to do an audit or to control federal executive branches of government? This is so constitutionally preposterous. Where did this woman come up with this order? I mean, I'm sorry. I really want to say it. I can't. This is 1,000% bull. You know what? BS. Bravo Sierra. What they're really trying to say is Trump doesn't have the right to audit the federal government. She's trying to cripple Trump's clear, constitutionally, legally delineated executive powers. She's trying to politically, constitutionally, legally cut him off at the knees. And let me tell you really what's going on here, because this is going to get overturned in a second. I mean, this order is so constitutionally outrageous. It's ridiculous. And by the way, if I'm Trump, you got to knock this stuff off. They got to knock this garbage off with all these judges constantly blocking him and preventing him from just doing a simple function of government. This has got to go to the Supreme Court ASAP, fast track, overnight. This judge needs to be slapped down. This judge needs to be disbarred. This judge needs to be impeached. There needs to be consequences now for this. No, let me tell you what she's doing. She's buying them a few extra days so they can destroy the evidence. Elon is following the money. How do you follow the money? Ask any accountant who does an audit. You go after the payment records, the system of payment records. Of course. Who wrote checks to who? Which checks went to which individuals, which entities, which organizations? That's how you find out if there's criminal behavior or not. What she's doing now is blocking Elon, blocking Doge when they have the swamp on the ropes. When they're now really starting to expose this mother of all scandals. And so she's buying them a few extra days, this corrupt judge, this Clinton hack, and basically saying, wink, wink, you're going to get maybe 2, 3, 4 days out of this. Burn it all. Destroy it all. No. This has got to go emergency appeal to the Supreme Court this morning. This morning. Agree, disagree. Let me throw that log on the fire. 617-266-6868. Anthony in Michigan. Thanks for holding, Anthony, and welcome.
Dr. Kuhner, how are you, sir? I was just about to put some dino juice in my car, but I'm going to go back in where it's warm. Hey, you just stole a little bit of my thunder, sir. What's going on here? See, Elon's team is basically going in and doing what we call in the engineering world a Kaizen event, process improvement. And you don't make those rockets fly or get range out of your electric car without doing that. But tangentially, Jeff, what they're doing is a forensic audit. Jeff, they're going to have them by the cojones here. And I got to tell you, how many members of Congress and Senate are going to survive this? We're going to have massive resignations, Jeff, when this all airs. And Barris basically said what they're doing is this is basically fascism. And both Schollenberger and Michael, what's his name? You know who I mean, the guy who's been exposing all this has been saying the same thing. Now, in terms of Team Trump, I've got a request of them. We need a joint session of Congress with both POTUS and maybe some of Elon's team in Elon explaining this to the American public.
Oh, I agree. Look, they got to get Cash in. They got to get Cash Patel in. Because Cash he's going to be the long arm. He's going to be, the guy that drops the hammer and sends people to jail. Look, Ilhan Omar is losing her mind. She's losing her mind. She's calling for a Doge to be shut down. She's leading protests in front of Congress. She's practically crying. Well, guess what? They found $2 billion in illegal payments to Somalia. $2 million was siphoned off to Somalia. And it mysteriously ended up in all kinds of bank accounts. I guarantee you, some of that money got back to her. There's no question. And you can run politician after politician after politician. That's the problem now. They never thought it would get to this point. So I agree with you. Trump is going to have to hold a major press conference, maybe even an address to the nation. He's got to make it very simple, very clear, to lay it all out, maybe with Elon. And notice what the media is now doing. I've never, outside of the way they vilify Trump, I've never seen a hate campaign directed against any other person outside of Trump than what they're doing to Elon. The Nazi salute, he's a fascist, he's a dictator, he's Darth Vader. Now they're making fun of his Doge team. because many of them are these computer Gen Z whiz kids. You know, he likes to employ these Gen Z, like super bright, super talented whiz kids, tech whiz kids. So they're like, oh, they're 22-year-olds. 22-year-olds are running our country. And I'm like, if they've got the tech experience to track down money, and that's what you need now, you need sophisticated software to track all these financial transactions, then yeah, I don't care if they're 22. And by the way, Anthony, some of these kids that he employs have Asperger's, okay, like Elon, which, as you know, is a type of autism. The Democrats are mocking these kids for being autistic. And the media is mocking these kids for being autistic. I mean, it's so disgusting what they're doing on every level. So look what he's done for autistic kids. Look what he's done for kids with Asperger's. Look at just how he's revolutionizing the federal government and exposing all of this rot and corruption and money laundering and criminality. And what is it? It's only been 2 weeks. Now, I'm going to get to this later in the show. They're now calling for Elon to be murdered. Literally, they want him dead. Now, my advice to Elon, get yourself a really good security team. And those Doge people now, they're being doxed. His team, their names, their addresses, their age, their pictures are being doxed by Democrat media outlets because we're exposing that they're state-run media. Get security for those kids, as I say kids affectionately. Get security for those whiz kids, those tech 22, 23, 24-year-old whiz, young, Gen Z whiz, tech wizards. Because the Democrats are not going to go down without a fight. But there's no question. This is the biggest scandal of our time, and it's only the tip of the iceberg. Many media outlets are not going to survive. Many politicians are not going to survive. I think many, many powerful people now are going to go down. 617-266-6868. 8 o'clock, you know what that means. Caller of the week, Kuhner's Call Log.
It's time for Kuhner's Call Log, where we showcase our favorite caller from the week.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Here's the thing. You want to go to war? Okay. I think I'm 100% with President Trump. First of all, let's put not only a tariff on the goods coming in from Canada, let's put a tourist tariff. Every person going into Canada, a tariff. Every person coming out. Really put the screws to him, because Justin Trudeau deserves it. This guy doesn't even know what he's doing. He's so incompetent. It's just disgusting. And also, the truckers. The truckers are with America. The freedom truckers who started in Canada, they should come alive again, along with the truckers here. They need to band together and show in solidarity and say, listen, we're not shipping anything in there, and we're not shipping anything out. He has to really play some chess here and put the screws to Justin Trudeau. This is disgusting. Well, we've been to this Canadian people. The Canadian people are good people, but see, they use the same voting machines, the corrupt voting systems, and this is what happens.
We came here today to ask you to also look into the policies that religious charitable organizations have in our legislation so that it can also be changed, because maternal love is the love that's going to change the future of mankind. So we'd like you to look into
we like to say people kind, not necessarily mankind, because it's more inclusive.
Be here every weekday on the Kuhner Report between 6 and 10 a.m. And next week, it could be you on Kuhner's Call Log.
Please, don't be a stranger. Call again. Great call. Honestly, the callers have been on fire all week. All right, my friends. I'm going to continue to take your calls. Let's reload the lines. 617-266-6868. Couple lines are open if you want to jump on. Listen now to Trump. And I want to get your take on this. He was at the National Prayer Breakfast, and it was a very moving, by the way, very powerful speech. and he starts to tease, I've been on fire the last couple weeks. Maybe I should run for a third term. Roll cut 11, Mike.
And I said, what are we doing? And they said, the prayer breakfast. I said, I've been there every year. I'm not doing it via Skype. What? Via Skype. I'm going to be there. It's not that far. It's like about 2 minutes down the road. In fact, it was easier to do this than put up a Skype deal. Destroy the White House, putting up all that stuff. But now I want to be here with you. And I have been here with you. Thank you. And I do that despite the fact that they say I can't run again. That's the expression. Sure. Then somebody said, I don't think you can. Oh.
Of course, liberals are going nuts. I mean, constitutionally, he's prohibited from running again. You're only allowed to serve 2 terms. And liberals are, you see? He's a dictator. Wants to make himself dictator for life. So, let me ask all of you. It's the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. When Trump was teasing that he may run in 2028 at the National Prayer Breakfast, was he A, trolling, or B, serious? Do you think he's trolling, or do you think he's, dead serious? I think you can tell the way he's laughing, the way he's playing with the crowd. He's clearly trolling the media. He wants to get them all revved up. Well, watch him go crazy. Watch him go ballistic. Let's have a little fun. But that's me. I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, KUHN is in National ER. You can also vote via X, my handle there, at the Kuhner Report, all one word, KUHN is in National ER. You see, that's another thing I love about Trump. Even when the stakes are so high, even when he's uncovering this massive corruption and scandal, he still likes to have a good time. He still likes to have fun, still likes to make people laugh. Basically what he's saying is, don't worry, we're going to clean up this mess. It's going to take a while, but we're going to clean it. We're going to clean up the mess. We're going to right the ship. Everything in the end is going to be okay. And I think it will. And I think heads are going to roll, and heads should roll. But that's just me. 617-266-6868. Okay, let me ask all of you, really, in all honesty, from the bottom of my heart, did you ever imagine? I knew the media was in the tank. I knew they were mouthpieces for the Democratic Party. I knew they were engaged in propaganda. To me, they're prostitutes. I've always said that. But did you ever think they were literally taking checks from the American government? By the way, Canada now, they found out the same thing. USAID, it's in Canada, they've been buying journalists all over the world. All over the world. Okay? But they're buying journalists here in the United States. I'm just curious, are you shocked? Are you surprised? And do we now officially, after this massive declaration, this disclosure, New York Times 50 million, Politico 8 million, AP 9 million, Reuters 9 million, 8 to 9 million, and that's just what we know. I'm sure CBS, NBC, ABC, CNN, Washington Post, Boston Globe, I wouldn't be surprised if they got their cut of the pie. Do we now have a state-run media? And if we have a state-run media, who wants to listen to a quote-unquote media that is literally bought and paid for with our money? 617-266-6868. 266-6868. Dan in Plymouth. Thanks for holding, Dan, and welcome.
Hey, good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Dan.
Trump needs to leverage the full power of the federal government. That means the DOJ, the FBI, and the IRS. There's no doubt that these recipients of this misguided money have committed fraud that's going to show up in their tax returns. And he needs to address the American people and say that the victims are we, the taxpayers. We've been robbed. And he needs to make the case to the American people. The Washington, D.C. is loaded what I call letterhead tax-exempt entities. These are bogus tax-exempt entities that function as money launderers, as personal piggy banks and slush funds, and that's fraud. And he needs to prosecute all of them, to make this worthwhile.
I agree. Dan, I could not agree with you more. And look, this is ultimately what we're finding out about USAID, other agencies, but USAID in particular. It was a giant slush fund for the CIA. That's really what USAID was. A massive slush fund for the CIA to conduct regime change abroad, to meddle in other countries' internal affairs. And now we find out foreign aid, supposed to be for foreign aid, was then used for internal political reasons as well. To support the fake news, to subsidize the fake news. And then thanks to Michael Schellenberger and his incredible reporting, the CIA, in conjunction with USAID, were behind the first impeachment of Donald Trump. They wanted regime change at home. And that's why they wanted Trump impeached and removed from power. They used our money to try to overthrow our president of the United States. Now, if that's not the biggest scandal ever, I don't know what is. 8:19 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. Man, you want to talk about being on the warpath, huh? Trump, Elon now exposing it all. Cassandra in Brockton. Thanks for holding, Cassandra, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. I hope you feel better soon. This is horrible cold going around.
I know there's a bad flu going around. Thank you, Cassandra.
You're welcome. And I'm so shocked about what just happened, the fact that they're using the government to go after President Trump. And I'm going to give you one better, because when Doge revealed a few things last week, and he said one of the countries also is Haiti. And I was like, whoa, what is it? Because they couldn't find where that money came to kill the Haitian president a couple years ago. There was $30 million that was paid, which they have no idea where that money come from. Because like he said, George said, meaning Mr. Elon Musk said that, that's the reason why all these coups d'etats that's happening in Haiti for regime change. So there's $30 million, and I hope if anyone from President Trump's team is listening, go look into who killed and why was he killed. There's $30 million missing. They don't know who paid that money to those Colombian and plus, inside job in the government in Haiti, where that $30 million come from. And the AG in Florida left his post like a couple months before President Trump got into power. So the money is going to be followed and see where that money come from. And I was like, whoa, what if? Because there's a lot of hush-hush. They're arresting people that has nothing to do with the killing. Because the killing came from here. It was decided up here in the U.S., not in Haiti. They hired some losers who would do anything for money. But the decision was made in Florida with a lot of higher-ups. So heads are going to roll. I am praying to God so Haiti could have a peace of mind to find out who killed and where that money came from.
And Cassandra, just to piggyback off of what you're saying, and I think you're completely right. That's why this Clinton judge blocked Elon's two people. Again, read only. I mean, it's not that they can do anything. Literally, they can't do anything with the information. It's just, we just want to read it so we can follow the money. Has now blocked those two employees, Elon Doge, from having access to any of these financial records, payment systems, to audit and follow the money. Because, Cassandra, this is what we know already. See, that's why I know you're right. We use the CIA and USAID to fund regime change, meaning overthrowing governments, either by fomenting unrest or assassinations in Eastern Europe, in Latin America, and in Africa. That's irrefutable now. I'm talking just under Biden. I'm not going back further than that. Just under Biden. Why wouldn't they do it in Haiti? When everybody knows the Clintons, and this is the thing that gets me, the Clintons have used Haiti as their personal piggy bank for God knows a decade now. What decade? Going back to Aristide. Remember that in the 1990s? They got involved with overthrowing the government in Haiti and replacing him with Aristide. And then they bought up Aristide, and they were buying everybody up in Haiti. And that's how the Clintons lined their pockets. Cassandra, I want to get your take on this, because I practically exploded at about 7 o'clock this morning, because it's come out now that USAID money, foreign aid money, that was supposed to go to Haiti, and in particular, and the reason why I get like this is my father was a starving child when he was young. Grace's dad was literally a starving child when he was young. So when I see starving, hungry children, I see red. To me, I can't stand the sight of it. I think it's such an injustice. Beautiful children in Haiti with swollen stomachs, starving, hungry, thirsty, many of them orphaned, no mother and father. Hundreds of millions of dollars was set aside literally for the children of Haiti. And they funneled the money through the Clinton Foundation. You can look it up, Cassandra. Chelsea Clinton came in, took $84 million of that, put it right in her bank account, right in her pocket, and basically gave the children of Haiti the big FU, the big middle finger. What say you, Cassandra?
What I said, we are being woken up right now in Haiti. The people in Haiti are learning this. I was listening to news yesterday, and they're happy that the USAID is being blocked. It's not being sent now because all the people that's been, funneling the money around and using it for their own personal gain are trying to come back in power to block the truth to come out, and especially to protect the Clintons. Because Aristide right now, I did not know, they have a band of nine presidents. Where in a civilized country you have 9 presidents? Every one of them get 1 year in power. I've never heard such thing. It is the money that they're getting.
Cassandra, thank you very, very much for that call. I really appreciate it. 617. This is highway robbery. This is bribery, money laundering, extortion, embezzlement. You can go on and on and on. More next. 8:32 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my friends, listen to the new iHeartRadio app with preset buttons. You can set the app to play the Kuhner Report automatically. Let's go to Nick in Weymouth. Thanks again, Nick, and welcome.
Hey, how you doing, Jeff? Just two quickie things. You mentioned Kash Patel earlier. I do not trust Grassley. If Patel doesn't make it, it will be because of him making sure that he doesn't make it. The other thing is this judge here who's gone against the Treasury Department releasing the information. She's a long-time Clinton appointee. She's a senior judge. Beware of senior judges, by the way. Remember Judge Sullivan, et cetera, on the General Flynn case? These are the worst offenders. They'll do anything you ask them to do. Anyway, she's also in charge of the FISA court. So what I'm getting at here is if and when they prosecute these people with the USAID, they're going to have to be done at different venues. For instance, the U.S. Attorney's Office, District of Columbia, is infested with a majority of Democratic-appointed assistant U.S. attorneys. For God's sakes, Debbie Wasserman Schultz's brother, Stephen, is still there. He whitewashed the Seth Rich investigation when he was with the DNC and got murdered. He whitewashed the investigation of 4 Pakistanis that were invading congressional and senatorial accounts with their laptops, and they absconded from the country. They brought it back. Nothing happened to them. So what I'm saying is you've got to prosecute these cases in different venues that are friendly, that are in red states, wherever, because the jury system, a grand jury system is infested also with many repeat offenders who come in there. When I say offenders in quotes, of supposed witnesses, they make a living at doing these cases. So it can't be done, unfortunately, in Washington D.C. And Bondi needs to whitewash all of these U.S. attorneys that do not belong in the District of Columbia office. So you got a problem with the judges, you got a problem with the U.S. attorneys, and you got a problem with the jurists. What do you think? And that's it.
Nick, look, I think you laid it out very, very well. And this judge that blocked now Doge and Elon Musk, in particular 2 of his employees, because they're the only 2 that had access, read-only, to go after these financial records, payment system records. And, by the way, Nick, have you noticed? Now the Democrats scream and holler about privacy. And, your information, it should be kept private. The ones who authorized massive surveillance on all of us. The ones that sent January 6ers a mass imprisonment campaign against the J6ers. I mean, I could go on and on and on. The one who sent the FBI to go after parents at school board meetings and infiltrate traditional Catholic masses and churches. Now, all of a sudden, oh my God, don't follow the money. Don't you dare follow the money. Look, Pam Bondi now has got to play hardball. Trump's got to play hardball. He's got to call Grassley. He's got to call every single Republican and say, I want Kash Patel, and I want him confirmed now. And these judges, they got to start paying a price for this because her order is so blatantly unconstitutional. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So let me get to, again, not to repeat myself, but the President of the United States doesn't have the authority to order an audit through the Treasury Department, i.e. Scott Bessent, that's his official, that's his cabinet nominee who's been now confirmed, and appointing Elon Musk and Doge to audit and control the spending of federal executive government branches? On what that's like saying Congress doesn't have the right to write a bill. Like, what? That's like saying the Supreme Court doesn't have the right to issue a legal ruling. What? She's covering up for the Clintons. She's a Clinton hack all the way. And I'm telling you, Nick, trust me, take this to the bank. She knows this is laughable. She knows it doesn't pass constitutional muster. She's only doing it for one reason. Buy them time now to try to hide and destroy the evidence. That's the only reason why she's doing it. That's why I'm urging Trump, you gotta move quick on this. Emergency this, emergency, fast track this, emergency appeal to the Supreme Court. Right away. And this judge, and to send a message, because you're going to see these, as you're pointing out, these lower level left-wing federal judges, They're going to block everything Trump does. They're going to block. Impeach them. Disbar them. Let them lose their jobs. Let them lose their money. Let them be disgraced. And then maybe they'll think twice. Thank you for that call. My friends, it's war now. You have to understand now, this is war. And we're going to win because we have the truth on our side. But we got to fight it like a war. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Mel in New York. Thanks for holding, Mel, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Mel.
Hi. Yes, I would think that with our having majority of Congress, that why shouldn't Congress order the Sergeant at Arms and the U.S. Marshal Service to go over there to where these records are being held and confiscate these records and possibly threaten those who don't want to turn them over with arrest. But then, when you're talking about, well, not you, but the Democrat Party talking about now it's about privacy, financial privacy. Last I knew, there was no financial privacy within the government. We, the people, are the government. And whatever material that the government possesses, we have a right to observe and to have in our possession. Or not, and maybe not in our possession, but the right to have our representatives have them in their possession to go over them. President Trump appointed Doge, those Elon Musk and whoever his staff is, to be able to audit any sort of waste, fraud, and abuse, and get our budget down to where it's livable. I don't understand how Congress is not ordering or making the effort to have these documents retrieved, and as I said, anyone blocking that order arrested. And you got Frank Marshall Davis's son, Barry Soetoro Obama. This is all communism. I mean, the Democrat Party is the party of communism. I mean, Ray Charles could see that. I mean, with both his eyes closed. But it's just the fact that I thought I was living in America here. It seems that we must have been asleep as this movement, communist movement, has taken place on us. But it's just, I know I'm a free. I live in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Because anybody comes knocking on my door, I mean, I've got the right to defend myself and my family, regardless who it is. But but as far as our listening, your listening audience, and what could be done is go to whitehouse.gov and let and it says right there on the website, contact the president or contact whoever else, but contact the president. Start sending emails to the White House. You don't have to worry about retribution because the communists are out of power right now. It's not about anyone going to come after you. Like if you were to send something to what's his name, dark Brandon, Joe Biden, that you may have to worry about who might come and knocking on your door at 3 a.m. in the morning. So, but with President Trump in authority right now, you don't have to worry about that. If you don't open your mouth, like the saying is, a closed mouth never gets fed. If you don't say something, we all flood. If we crash the site, they know that we're watching. They know that we're aware, and we want him to carry out his agenda, and that we're not sleeping. We're watching. We see what's going on.
Well, look, Mel, I got to tell you, I think you hit the nail on the head, as usual. It's our information. Like, we own it. It's these government these public sector unions, government employee unions, who are in the pocket of the Democratic Party. They're the ones who launched this so-called lawsuit that a Clinton judge, then used as the basis to block now Doge. Again, 2 employees, only 2, can see this information, and it's read only. Like, what's the problem? So, it's obvious, okay? They're trying to buy time, and they're claiming that, we're violating privacy rights. No, it's our information. I'm sorry, it belongs to the American people. But notice now, the Democrats are making this argument. No one elected Elon Musk. They keep saying this. This is a coup. Elon's taking over the government. He's taking over USAID. He's taking over these agencies. Yeah? Who elected Mayorkas? Who elected Buttigieg? I'm just curious. No. Musk was appointed by Trump. What's the problem? 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I promise I'm going to take a lot of calls very quickly. All of you need to hear this. So as you know, the line of attack against Elon is, well, who elected Elon? And, Elon's running a coup, and, this is a power grab, and blah, 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 blah. Who elected Merrick Garland? Who elected Mayorkas? Who elected all the senior advisors around Biden? I'm just, that were basically really running the country. And this guy as the puppet. So I'll tell you who elected Elon. We, the American people, did through Trump. Trump had the right to set up his Treasury Department secretary. He's got Scott Bessent. And he and Bessent together set up Doge. And they appointed Elon, like other appointees, to run Doge. What's the problem? And Elon serves at the bequest of President Trump. He has to report to President Trump. And everything he does has to be authorized by President Trump. So again, what's the problem? There's nothing illegal or unconstitutional. No, what they're freaking out over is that, look, let me tell you what Doge is in a nutshell, if you want one sense. Yes, Department of Government Efficiency, make the government more productive, more efficient, root out waste, fraud, and abuse, modernize the government, save us trillions of dollars. It's all of that. But in a nutshell, Doge is conducting a forensic audit. Like they're just going through the money. That's all they're doing. They're following the money. They're auditing the money. That's all they're doing. And the more they audit, the more they look, they're going like, oh my God, you're not going to believe this. It's like an accountant going through a mob boss's books. And they're like, you're not going to believe where this money went. Oh, you're not going to believe where this money came from. So he's basically a glorified accountant. I'm not trying to minimize what Elon is doing, but I'm just saying that's really what this is. And for the Democrats to be panicking, well, that tells you everything you need to know. They're getting caught with their hand in the till, in the cookie jar. Now, this is what's now being unleashed. I want to give a hat tip to the libs of TikTok and to Breitbart and to other news outlets out there for having the guts to break this story. And remember now what I've been saying for about at least a year or two. I said, you watch. All of the left-wing radicalism is coming from a handful of states. It's California, Massachusetts, Illinois, and New York. I'm not saying there aren't other moonbat states, but those are the four that are really leading this left-wing revolution, or trying to. Okay? So, Massachusetts now is really the California of the East Coast. You think California is crazy? Listen now to this. A Boston University assistant media technician. So, he is an employee at Boston University. Jared May it's a leftist echo chamber, in essence. It's a social media platform. It's called Blue Sky. It's where all the libs are. And they just repeat and echo everything that they say. What he did was, he doxed the members of Doge, these young 22, 23, 24 tech whiz kids. So he put their pictures, their photos, their names, and then right beside them, okay, so so this is what he wrote. The men carrying out Musk's coup are, I'm not going to repeat their names. He lists their names. Underneath it, you see their pictures, the pictures of their faces, again with their names underneath them. And then it says, wanted for treason, dead or alive. Let me repeat that. Wanted for treason, dead or alive. This guy, a Democrat hack, he's a thug. That's what he is. He's a political thug and a kneecapper. Is calling for Doge employees to be murdered, to be killed. It's naked. There's no question. There's no question. The men carrying out Musk's coup, he gives the names. Underneath, he has their pictures, their faces, their names underneath them, and right beside it, wanted for treason, dead or alive. Now, Elon right away said he's committed a crime. Which, true, it's illegal. You cannot incite people to kill someone. To call someone to be murdered is a crime. It's literally a crime. Now, this is the part that I find incredible. It's a huge story. Okay? It's not just local, it's national. It's a massive story. Boston University was contacted by media outlets, not just here, but across the entire country. You know what their response was? He doesn't share our values. Our values at Boston University are not his values. This was a private comment on a private social media platform. Boston University doesn't share his values. He's calling for employees of Doge to be killed, assassinated, and murdered in cold blood? No. No, I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry, okay? I want him fired on the spot. The FBI needs to kick his doors down. I want him arrested. And by the way, I want to give him the J6 treatment. I mean it. I want FBI SWAT raids at 4 o'clock in the morning. I want him to kick the door down, drag him out on the street. I want all of his neighbors to see him like they did all the J6ers, most of whom were just walking up and down the halls. This guy is calling for Doge. These are 22, 23, 24-year-old young adults. He's calling for them to be murdered. And if Boston University will not fire this man on the spot, rescind all of their federal funding. On the spot. On the spot. And if Jared May is listening, from me to you, go F yourself. Okay? I'm telling you to your face, you're a coward, you're a bully, and you're a thug. By the way, Mr. Tough Guy, who likes to call for people to be murdered and engaging in treason and coups and doxing them and putting their names and their pictures and urging them to be murdered and killed. Suddenly now he's wiped away his LinkedIn page. Suddenly he deleted that, Mr. Tough Guy. Suddenly now he's gone into hiding, Mr. Tough Guy. You phony, you fraud, you. The FBI should arrest him for inciting murder. He should be fired. And if Boston University will not fire him, they should lose all federal funding. And frankly, the way Boston University has conducted themselves, this was about 3 days ago. And this story is not going anywhere. Boston University should be ashamed of themselves. Agree, disagree. Can you imagine? I'll tell you this right now. If I put up a list of prominent Biden cabinet officials or senior advisors with their names and their pictures of their faces and said they're engaged in a coup and they're wanted for treason, dead or alive, if I called for them to be murdered and killed, I would be fired so freaking fast. I'd be out on the street so fast, I'm telling you, forget my head, your heads would be spinning. And believe me, under Biden, Merrick Garland would have FBI stormtroopers kicking down my back door. Forget the front door, the back door. They'd come in from the front and from the back. Okay, I'd be 20 years in jail? If they're giving old ladies 4 or 5 years for just walking around the Capitol, what do you think they would have given me for that kind of a stunt? So, no, I'm sorry. Jared May, M-A-Y, that's his name. To the FBI, arrest him, handcuff him, charge him, convict him. To Boston University, fire him. And if you don't, no federal money for you. Agree, disagree? Aubrey in Braintree. Thanks for holding, Aubrey, and welcome.
Jeff, thank you for keeping our public airwaves propaganda free. We are grateful for your service.
Thank you, Aubrey. Thank you.
Jeff, there's a resource I wanted to provide your listeners. A gentleman has put together a searchable database of all USAID grants. And I just punched it in as you were talking. In 2022, Boston University trustees who are getting paid millions of dollars in compensation received a USAID grant. Now, I haven't pulled it up yet, but you can go to datarepublican.com, and it's a very interesting thing. That's where they got the flow chart of how Chelsea got her $84 million. There's also a wonderful database called usaspending.gov. You would be amazed at the institutions just in Massachusetts receiving federal money. It is mind-blowing. Now, there's a massive federal investigation here in Massachusetts. We won't go into the details, but if you've ever reported public corruption before, they've cleaned out the Boston office of the FBI. According to my research, 6 prominent FBI leaders in Boston have mysteriously left. FBI.com/tips. It can be anonymous. If you have solid evidence of public corruption, now is the time to report it. There's been a massive investigation since April 8th of 2019. It's now infected our congressional delegation. They're using RICO, Jeff, the mob law, alleging that all Massachusetts politicians are corrupt. Do your stance as an American. If you know of corruption, now is the time to report it.
Aubrey, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Aubrey, if I can ask you a personal question, and if you don't want to answer it, I promise I won't be offended. Is there anything from all of this criminality, abuse of power, embezzlement, money laundering? I could go on and on, okay? All of this that's now being discovered, is there anything that honestly has genuinely shocked you? Where you say, I knew it was bad, but holy mackerel, I didn't think it was this bad. Is there anything that stands out in your mind?
Story with you. On March 26th of 2019, I'm a former investigative producer and reporter. I'm friendly with your producer, Nancy. She's known me for decades. I filed a criminal report against a sitting Massachusetts judge. 2 hours later, the front door of my Quincy, Massachusetts home was kicked down by 3 warrantless cops. I was dragged out and sectioned for filing a criminal report against a Massachusetts judge. Now, hold on. That judge, a year and a half later, was removed, and he was flipped. But the information I learned about Steward Healthcare, I believe, got them kicked out of Massachusetts. When I was sectioned, Jeff, in a mental ward for a short period of time until the doctors realized it was appalling a victim of crime could be sectioned, I started interviewing patients, nurses, doctors, ambulance crews. They were engaged in horrific human trafficking, Jeff. Medicaid fraud like you would not believe. My estimate, over 200 innocent souls, mostly homeless people, were kidnapped. by a horrible ambulance company, all known to the city of Quincy. That's my story, Jeff.
Wow.
I have to live homeless until the investigation is over. If there's one thing I would love is to go to coffee with Nancy someday. Jeff, this is real. People's observations of what they've seen over the years, of all the corruption that goes on, from covering up a lieutenant governor's mysterious car accident. Here's a spoiler alert, Jeff. The lieutenant governor wasn't behind the wheel. You remember that, don't you?
Yeah. No, I know. Aubrey, listen, dynamite info. Aubrey, stay safe and don't be a stranger, Aubrey. Please call again. 617-266-6868 is the number. Jeanette, is it Jeanette or Jeanette? Jeanette? Jeanette in Quincy. Thanks for holding, Jeanette, and welcome. Hello, Jeanette. All right, let's see if we can reconnect with Jeanette. Ben on the North Shore. Thanks for holding, Ben, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff. I don't know if you can sort this out or not, but I'm wondering. You get one federal judge, and she can stop Trump, but Biden's in there. He transfers millions of dollars of student aid to the taxpayers. It goes all the way through the courts. It goes to the highest court in the land. The U.S. Supreme Court says you can't do it. That's illegal. Did he take that debt off the taxpayers, put it back? No. What did he stop? No. He did it at least 2 more times with more students transferring debt to the taxpayers. If he didn't have to stop, why should Trump stop? Why shouldn't he just say, the hell with her, keep going?
I agree. I completely agree. You took the words right out of my mouth. Ben, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I think the audience today is batting 1,000. I mean, I don't want to curse it. I don't want to jinx it. We still got an hour left in the show. But this could be maybe the best show ever. I'm telling you. Best Kuhner Report ever. 1,000%. You're completely right. And just to add to what you're saying, although you're 1,000% correct, notice no judge ever stopped Biden. Have you noticed that? No Republican judge, no conservative judge, they never blocked Biden on anything. On anything. When he illegally opened up the border, they didn't block him. I mean, I could go on and on and on. When he was illegally flying illegals, resettling them in the dead of night, and now we find out funneling money that was set aside, say, for Medicare or Medicaid, or for veterans, or for anti-poverty camps, like for Americans, like for anti-poverty programs. They were literally funneling and embezzling money in the federal government to pay for all these illegals being resettled in the dead of night. Not one judge blocked him. And then you're right, on the forgiving student loans. Biden, was stopped, went to the Supreme Court, was stopped by the Supreme Court. They voted against him. He was shot down. He didn't stop. He didn't give the money back. So he can thumb his nose at the Supreme Court. No problem. No judge ever blocks him. Trump is just doing a forensic audit. That's all he's doing, which is 100% within his constitutional purview and authority. And they're finding out all of this corruption and criminality. And all of a sudden now, he's going to be blocked by some judge no one ever heard of? I'm with you. He should turn around and say, you know what, take your order and shove it up where the sun don't shine. No. You feel that strongly about it? Take it to the Supreme Court. Bye. Final word to you, Ben.
Yeah, I agree, and we're finding out just how corrupt these people have been for God knows how many years.
And I think it's going to get even worse. Ben, I'm telling you, Elon is warning us. He's saying, well, he goes, get ready. A lot of eyes are going to be opened. He goes, Medicare, Medicaid fraud, what Aubrey was talking about, IRS. Did you hear Schumer on the Senate floor? He was, what's next? Social Security? IRS? Like he's panicking, he's shaking. And I'm like, yeah. If there's waste, fraud, and abuse in the IRS, duh, we should know about it. Social Security? Of course. Senior citizens depend on that program. You shouldn't be wasting a penny. They're scared. Forget scared. They're petrified because they're all going to be exposed. Ben, thank you very much for that call. We got her back. Okay, Jeanette in Quincy. Jeanette, thanks for holding and welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. I think there should be an immediate emergency shutdown of that building or have security people in there so they can watch and see, just like the voting machines, what's going on. And, and that would be the impetus for the Supreme Court to immediately review this and do something about this for Trump.
I agree.
And Elon Musk.
I agree. I completely agree. Jeanette, I'm just curious. What do you say to the argument? Because this is what the media, they've got they got no argument, so they're trying to make it up. No one elected Elon. What say you, Jeanette?
Well, like you said before, President Trump appointed him. And another thing I'm sick of is these people on the news stations calling him Mr. Trump instead of President Trump.
Well, now we know why.
Look
at all the money they've been receiving. I mean, they're state-run media. They're all on the take. Really, they are prostitutes. It used to be like an attack line, right? No, really, they're prostitutes. By the way, who elected Fauci? Notice the Dems never say a word about that, huh? Hey, you phonies, you frauds, you. I got another story. I'm telling you, it's like peeling an onion. This one, next. That's what's really coming out. Just how greedy our elites are. 9:20 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. Do you remember that nasty bishop? What was that? Maybe 2 weeks ago? Bishop Marianne Budd, who is the head of an Episcopalian church. And there she was lecturing Trump at the National Prayer Service to his face right there in the pews, along with his family and J.D. Vance and his family, about how he should care for the illegals and the migrants and the LGBTQ plus community because they feel so scared under Trump. And they're good people. The illegals, they just want to pay taxes and work hard. No, they're not committing any crimes. What are you talking about? $53 million. That's her price. $53 million. So, listen now to this. Bishop Marianne Budd, at least according to what Elon has found, and that's just for 1 year. Okay, this is just the tip of the iceberg. She has pocketed a staggering $53 million taxpayer money through her organization, Episcopal Migration Ministries. So, if you want to know why these sanctimonious, left-wing religious leaders always preaching compassion, but when you actually look a little deeper, they're just lining their pockets and their coffers with our money. And so apparently, listen now, this is the racket that she's running. Through this, it's a separate arm from her church. So her church remains tax-exempt status. But this extra arm, this federal contracting arm, had deals with Joe Biden's regime, for example, in 2023, in which, in exchange to resettle 3,600 illegals, this is according to the New York Post. Hat tip to them. They broke this story. Just in 2023 alone, the Episcopalian Migration Ministries, Bud's group, raked in $53 million. $53 million. And they took them in refugees, They took them in from Afghanistan. They took them in from the Democratic Republic of Congo. But not just this. Listen to this. Because they claimed that these people being brought in were quote-unquote refugees, they immediately became eligible. Medicaid, welfare, cash assistance, $2,000 a month prepaid Visa cards, free education, Section 8 housing. You name it, they got it. And on top of this, listen to this racket. Under Obama, I didn't know this, but under Obama, if you're one of these NGOs, these non-governmental organizations, okay, like this Episcopalian Migration Ministries, if you bring in migrants, illegals, so-called refugees, who, listen to this, have psychological problems, I'm talking like schizophrenia or whatever, or you can claim that because they were gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and were persecuted for those reasons, or, listen to this, refugees who are HIV positive. In other words, you have AIDS. You get an extra 25% cut. You get an extra 25%. So, we're not just bringing in people from all over the world and then putting it on the dole. Right away, we give them all, taxpayer paid social assistance. That's bankrupting this country that we're paying for. No. We're bringing in people with AIDS. We're bringing in people with bipolar, schizophrenia, suffer from serious trauma, people with LGBTQ, if they happen to be persecuted for those reasons. They make even more money on bringing these people in. Her price, 1 year alone, $53 million. $53 million. Now, they're finding out the Lutherans got involved on the racket. We're looking at hundreds of millions. USAID money flowed to Lutheran ministry. Same thing, the contracting arms. And, of course, the Catholic Church. Over the 5 years under Biden, $2.9 billion to Catholic charities, Catholic NGOs, to churches all over the country and around the world. Let's not quibble. $3 billion. $3 billion. Do you know how corrupt this is? Now you know why every second homily at a Catholic church, or every second sermon at many Episcopalian or Lutheran churches, denominations, go on about illegals and open borders and migration. Now you know why they've all become globalists. Because they're bought and paid for. They've literally betrayed their fundamental religious beliefs and institutional roles for the money and for the social power of advancing the globalist agenda. Holy mackerel. She's greedy. I'm telling you, she's greedy. And she's this Marianne Budd, this so-called bishop, she's lecturing Trump. All Trump should have done when she was talking, with his, your finger, your two fingers, and you rub it against your thumb, as in, money, money, money. That's all he should have been doing. Show me the money. No, show me the money. It's all coming out. 9:32 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. Or we're going to go right to your calls. But first, joining us now, as she always does at this time, the co-founder, CEO, president of Kelly Financial Services, and that is her wonderful name, Kelly Kelly. Kelly, how are you?
Good morning, Jeff. I am good. Considering retiring to another country can be exciting, but it requires careful planning as the idea can raise many financial questions. Will your savings last as long as you do? Will your retirement income be taxed abroad? Will you have access to quality, affordable health care? How will exchange rates affect your income? My complimentary book, Retire Your Fear, Plan Your Future, answers these questions and more, and will help you get on the right financial path to start your next journey. You can also sit down with one of our Kelly advisors who know the ins and outs of retirement planning, ensuring your money works for you wherever you might go. For my book or for a free consultation with a Kelly advisor, give us a call or email kelly@kellyfinancial.org. Jeff, I will continue this conversation with our Kelly advisors tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. on Safe Money Strategies Radio. Do tune in or go to our website for our radio rewind. Jeff, have a wonderful weekend. My best to Grace and the kiddos.
Thank you. All the best to you and everyone at Kelly Financial. Kelly, have a wonderful weekend. Again, you want to get a free copy of their guide or get a free consultation, call 888-800-1881, 888-800-1881, or if you prefer, you can email Kelly directly, kelly@kellyfinancial.org, kelly@kellyfinancial.org. And again, just a quick heads up to everybody. Listen to the new iHeartRadio app with preset buttons. You can set the app to play the Kuhner Report automatically. All right, super quick. I promise I'm going to go to the phone lines. Ron Paul, and he was ahead of this 30, 40 years. Well, listen now to what Ron Paul has put out on X. Quote, a look behind the curtain has revealed a horrific truth. Nearly the entire, quote-unquote, mainstream media worldwide has been funded by the U.S. government under the USAID. From the BBC to the New York Times and Politico. At this point, it might be easier to find out who USAID has not funded in the media sphere. I never got a check. I'm just telling you, I may be the only one who's not on the take, I swear to you, but I never got a check. So I must be doing something wrong. I never received a check. 617-266-6868. Chuck in Dighton. Thanks for holding, Chuck, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff, and I just wanted to give you my condolences about your dad. I went through that about 6 months ago with my mother. Very tough.
I'm very sorry.
Jeff, thank you, Jeff. Jeff, hey, quick question. The only thing I want to know is with all this going on, I commend Elon for what he's doing, showing everything that's happening, where the money's going, that we've always known that something fishy has been going on for years. Where has the so-called presidential special reports on your local news, where has that gone? I mean, I don't see that. I mean, I think President Trump could cut into all your NBC, CBS, ABC, and have a special report and list everything that's going on and where it's going, because it's nothing but facts that they need to get out there, because we've had enough of their propaganda. Let's give the real truth out there to the American people.
That's what's going to happen now. I think you're really onto something because, look, Chuck, this is a scandal that's so big. Let me tell you what the big complaint is. And it's not Elon's fault. It's just the hole that we've dug ourselves in after all these decades. People are saying, Jeff, it's too big. I can't absorb it all. Like millions of people on social media. I can't quite, it's just too much. I got to digest it in smaller chunks. And I think that's what's going to happen. It's going to take a little bit of time, you know, to marinate it, to think about it, to digest it, to process it. And this is going to be massive fury. Massive fury. And the media now, they're in complete damage control. They don't know what to do. because Elon's delivering the receipts. He's just receipt after receipt after. Follow the money. The money doesn't lie. The receipts don't lie. And look, and now we know why. I mean, Chuck, everything begins to make sense. We keep asking ourselves, there's all this corruption in government. Like, come on, if you're a journalist, like shooting fish in a barrel. Why weren't they exposing this? Can you imagine if we confronted this 30, 40, 50 years ago? We would be at a completely different level as a country and as a people. Now we know. They were taking government money. They were on, the journalists, the so-called media, as Ron Paul says, were all on the take. In fact, he's asking who wasn't on the take. That's the question now. So, no, look, Chuck, Trump is going to have to do what FDR did in the 1930s. You know, the equivalent, modern day equivalent of fireside chats. And his people, they're very brilliant. They got to be very creative. But he's got to go right around now, this corrupt media. And this is a state-run media. Just go right around them, straight to the American people. And maybe this is nationally televised addresses. Maybe this is a weekly press conference with Elon. You know, here's what we found this week with charts and, you know, and just graphics and very easy, very simple to understand. And Chuck, this is a revolution, a common sense, to be more accurate, a counter-revolution. This is a common sense revolution, and I think it's going to topple the whole regime. The deep state's going to be exposed. I can't wait for RFK Jr. to get in. Can you imagine what he's going to find at Health and Human Services? Holy mackerel. Holy mackerel. I think the deep state's going to fall. I think the federal bureaucracy is going to fall. I think the entire legacy media is going to fall. I mean, this is going to be like dominoes. This is 1989, 1990, 1991. This is now the end of the liberal empire. Just my opinion. Trump is the new Reagan. Reagan broke Soviet communism. Trump is now going to break globalism and Democrat communism. Final word to you, Chuck.
Jeff, all I want to see is every news organization out there have to air everything that they don't want to air that President Trump is going to expose and have every single one of them eat crow.
Amen. Amen. Chuck, look, Mike and I are talking about the Super Bowl, you know, off air a little bit, and who do you think's going to win, and what's the point spread, and so, you know, let me make a bet, okay? Let me just make a bet. Watch CBS News tonight. They're not going to mention any of this. Biggest scandal of our time. NBC News, ABC News, CNN, the New York Times, the Boston Globe, the Washington Post, the BBC, Politico. And now we know why. Now we all know why. As an experiment, everybody, try it. Pick any one. So I'll just give them 5 minutes. Lead. 6:30. The lead. This should be the lead, right? What's the lead? It won't be this, I guarantee you. Follow the money. Bought and paid for, corrupt to the core. Thank you very much for that call, Chuck. Skippy in South Boston. Thanks for holding, Skippy, and welcome.
Hello, Jeff. Jeff, for those who want to yell, who elected Elon Musk? I'll answer a question with a question. Who elected John Kerry to special envoy with global warming? That was Joe Biden.
Great point.
He set up this whole special thing. He gave them a big staff and an airplane, a private plane, and Joe's administration wouldn't release any information about special envoy's function or how much money was going to be paid that they would come up with. No oversight at all. At the end of the day, there was no evidence of anything positive that resulted of this foolish envoy in existence. You know what it comes down, Jeff? I like to call it DC boomerang. All it is throw out a whole bunch of money that don't belong to them, and sure enough, some comes right back into their pocket.
I want to know how much Jean-Francois, as I like to call him, okay, John Kerry. I want to know how much John Kerry made as the special, you're right, the climate change envoy. All that secret money that was funneled to him and his staff. Elon, Go after them, baby. Expose them all. Skippy, dynamite point. And down the stretch we come. 9:48 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. D in Middleborough. Thanks for holding, D, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Good. How are you, D?
I am fine. I have two comments to make. And the first one's regarding all these people screaming about Elon Musk's team having access to our personal information. If they were so worried about our personal information, tell me what they've done about the pages and pages of breaches they've identified on the HHS site of companies that have had breaches. There's pages and pages of them for the last 24 months. And there's more. It's just they're showing the last 24 months. It's on the HHS site. You can go right on it and see all these breaches of different healthcare companies and everything else that have occurred over the past 24 months. Millions and millions of pieces of information. So where's all the outrage about that? And I don't even know what the qualifications are to work for the IRS. I mean, how do we know clerical people working there were properly vetted before they worked there? So all this screaming about our personal information, sorry, folks, that ship has sailed. Secondly, when it comes...
Outstanding point. Please keep going, D. You're on a roll.
Audit. You start with the low-hanging fruit, the most obvious stuff. Who was paid? When were they paid? What were they paid for? They've identified the low-hanging fruit. Now they're going to go on to the receivables. Were loans paid back, and why weren't they paid back? Where did the assets go? What was purchased, and where did those assets go? Oh, they disappeared? Wow, where did they go? This is just the tip of the iceberg. So you know what? All these people screaming, it's just distraction and smoke and mirrors. And half of them don't even know what they're talking about. I love when they post stuff from Occupy Democrats. I wonder how much they got paid. It's disgusting. These people that don't have any clue what they're talking about should just shut up.
D, you know what else Elon has found? I mean, literally, there's so much out there. You can do 10 shows on this, okay? Do you know that USAID literally paid for the tunnels that Hamas built in Gaza? We paid for that. Here's another one. D, you can look it up. Money flowed Afghanistan, Yemen, Syria. We paid for 10,000 meals for groups affiliated with Al-Qaeda. We literally fed Islamic terrorists. And that's, as you rightly just said, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Now you know why they're panicking. Why would we be funding Hamas to build tunnels to kill Jews in Israel? Why would we be providing meals, for God's sakes, to the very people that killed 3,000 Americans on September 11? I mean, D, if this doesn't make your blood boil, if this doesn't, that's why they're scared. They know the American people find out about this. As Hillary Clinton famously said in 2016, she yelled at Donna Brazile, if that mother effer, meaning Trump, if that mother effer wins, we're all going to hang. Final word to you, D.
People just need to let them do their job. If Elon Musk wanted it all time
D, you broke up on us at the end there, but your points were spot on. Jack in Tewksbury, thanks for holding, Jack, and welcome. By the way, sorry, I got to say this. Do you know that under Biden, not Trump, under Biden, Elon got super security clearance, like secret security clearance. So if he wanted to poach people's private information, he doesn't need Doge. He could have done it under Biden. He could have done it for years under Biden. But anyway, let that go. Jack, you're up next. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Jeff, good morning. Just think.
Hi, Jack.
In the flip of a switch, in the turn of a head, where would we be?
Well, that's what they all would have buried had they won in 2024. That's what they wanted buried.
Yep.
Now, Jack, doesn't all this make sense now? 2 assassination attempts on Trump, 2 impeachments on Trump. We know the CIA and USAID coordinated the first regime change impeachment. All of the attempts to put him behind bars, the FBI raid, shoot to kill orders at Mar-a-Lago, bankrupt him, bankrupt his family, the lawfare, the persecution, take him off the ballot, everything they tried to stop him. Jack, doesn't it now all make sense? We kept asking ourselves, what are they hiding? Now we're getting a sense of what they're hiding. Am I wrong, Jack?
You're not wrong, Jeff. That kid on the roof had some pretty sophisticated equipment. We never found out about him.
Jack, as the stakes get higher and higher now, are you worried about Trump's safety, Elon's safety, the people who work at Doge? Are you worried about their safety?
A cornered rat gets very vicious. Don't forget that. And a wounded bear is very vicious.
Well, they're cornered rats. Right now, they're really cornered rats. Jack, thank you very much for that call. Vince in Methuen. How much time left, Mike? Vince, I've got 1 minute. I'm sorry, I hate to do this to you. The floor is yours. Go.
How are you, Jeff? First of all, the BU information that you gave, my jaw dropped. I couldn't believe it. But here's the answer. Why are they complaining about privacy? Wasn't it the whole Congress that went after Trump and ended up his tax returns for years and years and years were all exposed?
Yes.
They didn't care about privacy then. The other thing, in the IRS, do you know that there's $800 million owed to the IRS by IRS employees? How do you work there if you owe them your tax returns? Shocking.
Incredible. Incredible. You know, I got to say this, Vince. It's a phenomenal call. Since the show started today, I have to say this. Every call was an outstanding call. I got it. This show, I mean it, it was practically a perfect show. It was an incredible topic. It's an all-important topic. Trump himself said it's maybe the biggest scandal in American history. And I got to tell you, the texts were outstanding. Emails, the calls. Honestly, Kuhner Country, outstanding job. We're not going to let this thing go. It's too important. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.